The anxiety about where Australia is heading in relation to this Glasgow Energy Conference in November, the public and political anxiety will not go away. I see the Liberal National Party candidate in the battleground rural electorate of Flynn in Queensland has rejected the coalition's push for a net zero emissions target. Now, the LNP member up there, Ken O'Dowd, is to retire at the next election. A state MP, Colin Boyce, who's represented the state's Callide electorate in the Queensland Parliament, will contest the federal seat for the LNP. He rightly says that a net zero emissions target would entrench Australia into a, quote, lower standard of living, that it would be people in regional areas who'd bear the brunt of it. His ALP challenger, Matt Burnett, is the Mayor of Gladstone. He's come out in support of the net zero target. Labor sources say that the seat of Flynn, with a margin of 8.6%, is a key target in the next federal election. Yet the electorate is dominated by emissions-heavy mining and agriculture, mining and beef cattle farming, the two biggest employers. Labor are clinging to this net zero emissions, but Mr Boyce says such a policy would put an end to the coal-fired power station that's needed to power Gladstone's gas plants and alumina refineries. He's right. He's a cattle farmer. And he says simply, if we walk away from affordable coal-fired power, we are walking away from jobs. The coalition dilemma is understood by my viewers and the voters. Barry wrote to me to say this, quote, as I recall, Josh Frydenberg recently warned that unless Australia promised that it would achieve nil carbon emissions by a given date, Australia would be confronted with financial and trade penalties, including interest rate penalties on its overseas borrowings. Writes Barry, would Josh Frydenberg explain why China, with about 50 times Australian man-made carbon dioxide emissions and with borrowings beyond those of Australia, is not confronted or concerned with such impost threats? Writes Barry, perhaps China is now too big to be upset by such vacuous issues, or maybe China is beyond caring about so-called global warming. Asks Barry, could Josh Frydenberg, quote, be asked to clarify his warning and to comment about why he has alarmed Australia when we have one of the world's lowest man-made carbon dioxide emissions, unquote. Well, as I always ask, why are my viewers smarter than the politicians? What do you think? Email me, alan@skynews.com.au or the text line 0414 000 848.